But I want to start off with what he said about injuries, because I think that this, to me, is, without question, one of the big issues that Manchester United have. But I've got to be consistent here and say that I personally think you have to acknowledge it, but I don't think we can use it as an excuse. And I don't know who you'd blame for this. I mean, look, I certainly don't think it's exclusively down to Erik ten Hag. But being asked about injuries in the press conference, he said, yes, that holds us back in our levels and also in our position in the league. Because when you don't have the players available, you can't line up your best team. And that's what is holding us back at the moment. We need more players available more often. And, you know, it's massively frustrating, but I won't let it be an excuse. Like I say, we've had the chat about, I know what's happening in the fan base. Do we need to keep repeating? Lots of people want Ten Hag out. Lots of people want him to turn it around. But I think we can all agree that using injuries as an excuse is not an excuse. I don't know where you put the blame. I think there's a few areas. Certainly, Ten Hag has to take some. Ineos have to take some. Certainly, the physio department have to take a lot of the blame as well, and the individual players maybe. But we can't use excuses as an excuse, because if we use it as an excuse, then what was last year then? Like, we know we had a massive amount of injuries last season. We can't go into a new season and say, oh, we've got a load of injuries, like we're surprised. Like, if you take the door off your front door and you come home and there's no door there, you can't go, well, I'm surprised. That's a surprise. You took the door off. And we chose not to buy a left back. And you look at some of the injuries that we have at the moment, Harry Maguire, Mason Mount, Luke Shaw, those injuries were injuries last year. They're not a surprise. Yoro is a new signing, so I take that on board. That would be a surprise. But a lot of the injuries we've got were injuries last year. But of course, I'm not completely going to be unfair on this. We are unable to put a balanced team out since the start of the season because we don't have a left back. But we knew we didn't have a left back a year ago. We ignored the January transfer window and we ignored the summer. So look, I believe this team, I believe these players can resurrect this season, and I believe that we can have a future. I'm not saying that. And I agree that injuries make that job harder. But if I'm being completely honest, it would be so easy just to use it as an excuse and go, when we've got our best players, we'll be a better team. Yeah, we would be a better team if we had a left back. We would be a better team if Mainu was fit. We would be a better team maybe if Yoro was fit. We would be a better team if we had Mason Mount last night and didn't have to play Mazraoui there. But we had these injuries last year, so why is it an excuse? Like, I'm not going to blame necessarily the coach or Ineos, but we can't use it as an excuse. Even though it's probably staring us in the face that it's causing us a problem. Why didn't we buy a left back? Why did we think Mason Mount was going to be reliable this year? I just can't have it as an excuse. That can't be the excuse because we knew about it. You know what I mean? And I hope that probably comes across as a bit, messy, because it clearly is. Saka doesn't play for Arsenal at the weekend because he's injured and they lose. It's a bit of an excuse. Man United not having a left back all season is a bit of an excuse. But Mikel Arteta didn't take a baseball bat to Saka's legs. Man United chose not to have a left back. So yeah, we're not as good as we would be with a left back, but we chose not to have a left back. And that's what I'm saying. Whoever made those decisions can't be moaning about injuries. That's what I'm saying. We can't use it as an excuse, even though some people would say it is. I think we've walked into this with eyes wide open. Also, let's go through some other bits. But look, there was quite an interesting point. We'll come back to that one, actually. Ten Hag speaking about mistakes last night. Quite interesting what he had to say. But let me just go through some of his comments. So, plans for the West Ham game. As I hinted at this morning, Man United are not coming back to Manchester. This is Ten Hag's word. We're staying overnight in Turkey and then we go to London today and then training on Saturday in London. We've got to be ready. It's a short turnaround and we expect, of course, Bruno back and hopefully also Johnny Evans. So Man United do not travel back to Manchester from Turkey. They stay the night, they go to London, they train in London and then they play the game. Makes sense. Doesn't normally happen, but makes sense, I suppose. Hopefully Johnny Evans is back and obviously Bruno will be. He was asked about Manuel Agarte He said, for sure, the 6th position is a key position in your team, and he's got to learn this position in our game model. I think today is a step forward. Really pleased with his performance, and from here on, he has to build on that. He said, we've got Casemiro. He's done well lately, also very good. We've also got people that can fill in that role, and we've got Mainu, and I think Christian Eriksen is doing brilliant in this moment. He said, on being patient with Agarte and other new signings, you've got to integrate them. He came late in the window, and then we had to integrate him during the competition, and that takes time. He said, we have to stay patient, but as you see, if the quality in that position is not right, it's very difficult for a team to control games. And then I don't even speak about dominating games. He said that position needs one who brings the quality all the time, and we have to integrate him now into this team. As I said, I'm pleased with his performance today, and from here on in, he can build up. So this, I hinted at this morning. I'm not convinced that Agarte will start against West Ham. It sounds to me like Ten Hag's looked at that performance last night and said, yeah, it's good. He's got to build on that, but he doesn't trust him to do the job yet. Again, are you going to use this as an excuse? No. And people are going to go, Goldbridge, what's happened to you since the morning show? You've got 2 really good excuses to defend Ten Hag and you're not using them. Well, I'm not using the injury excuse for the reasons just said. And I'm not using the integration thing as Agarte as an excuse either. Because yet again, we won the FA Cup against the best team in England with Amrabat playing in that role. We let Amrabat go. We couldn't sell Casemiro, and we bought Agarte at the end of the window. We weren't ready for the start of this season in a very key position. I agree it's going to take time for new signings to settle. I agree that Agarte may not be quite ready yet, but it's not like we didn't know about it. We played an FA Cup final with Amrabat there, and we looked good. We let Amrabat go. We started the season with Casemiro, who hasn't looked good there, and then we bought a replacement right at the end of the window who needs time to settle in. So yet again, I'm like, you can't use injuries as an excuse because you knew we'd get them. And you can't use not having a proper 6 as an excuse because you did have one at the end of the season, and now you've got a new one that's going to take time to settle in. And the one thing you haven't got is time. And everything seems to be about the future, and you haven't got it. As I said, I can self-reflect. I don't want to see Ten Hag sacked. I believe in this team. But how long is he going to get? You can see there's a lot of people that don't want to give him time, rightly or wrongly. And we're talking about time. And I think with Agarte, you might not get that time. I mean, Ten Hag could easily be the guy that spends £50 million on Euro and never plays him because he's sacked before Euro's back. He ain't got time. I think Agarte's got to start against West Ham, but I get the hint that he's going. I don't think he's quite ready for it, so I might not start him. So we'll have to wait and see. But Goldbridge, that's the end of the clip. I'm sure you enjoyed it. In fact, I bet that's the best clip you've ever watched. So there's no reason not to subscribe to the channel, click the bell icon so you never miss a clip again. In fact, smash a like on the video because we all know only legends like videos and you are all legends. So please smash a like on the video and we will see you again on the next one. Thank you very much for watching as always.